Let's follow through this concept of using Gridify, and let's now go and use a compound path. I'm going to navigate to page 1, to the cover page of our menu document. I'm going to select the rectangle tool from the toolbar. I'm going to click and drag a rectangle. I'm going to gridify this now by tapping on the up arrow on your keyboard. And while I'm still holding the mouse, I'm using the right arrow to create a 3x3 grid. With all the shapes still selected, we can go and add a little bit of a stroke top over here, just a 2-point stroke. We're now going to go and create the compound path. We're going to navigate to the object menu. We're going to select paths, and we're going to select make compound path. Let's go and place an image. We'll go to the file menu, we select place, we navigate to our source folder, and we're looking for an image called restaurant. And that is creating a compound path. The compound path, let's think of it this way, it cuts holes in your squares to reveal the image beneath it. What I do want to do now, and revising from a previous lecture of the content grabber, I'm going to now select the selection tool. I'm going to move the cursor over the image, and I can now see the content grabber. I want to edit the size of this image beneath the squares. It's too large. So I click on the content grabber, and I can now actually see how big this image actually is. So I'm going to hold the Shift and the Command key, or the Shift and the Control key, and I'm going to size it down so that we can see the entire image. I'm going to use the up arrow. I'm actually holding Shift and the up arrow and using the arrow keys so that it goes a lot quicker. Just as a revision, if I use the left arrow key, it goes 1 pixel at a time. But should I hold the Shift key and move it across with the left arrow, it moves 10 pixels at a time on the screen. It's now an appropriate time to save this. I think it's also now an appropriate time to substitute this image using Adobe's AI. I'll click on the image to select it. I click on the content grabber. Again, we get text to image. I will click in there. I will type Italian restaurant and generate. We now have an option, as we had before when we put in the seafood platter. We can choose from these 3 variations, and we can see which image suits us best. Let's go and take the type tool from the toolbar. We're now going to go click and drag out a text frame, and we will type in the words welcome home. I can now select a more appropriate font and the sizing. I click on the escape key, or I use the black selection tool to select the text frame. I go back into the type tool and I highlight the name of the font. I can now use the down arrow key, and I can now preview the fonts as they will be shown in our final product. Let's just say, for example, I'm fond of that font. I will use that. So in order that I don't have to keep going back to the type tool to get the font options, I can go and I can use the character panel, go to the window menu, go to type and tables and select character, and I can now highlight the size of the text. I can use the up arrow and it will enlarge the text. As we can see from this example, in order to input text, we drew out a text frame. Now this text frame is too large for the text that we've created. How does that affect us? Let's say, for example, I would like to center this text along the second row of squares. I'm waiting to see a smart guide. I click and drag across, and when I get to where I think is the center, it certainly is not the center, because it is not showing us a smart guide. It's showing us a smart guide on the left-hand series of squares, but not in the center. This is because the center of this text frame is not relating to the center of this compound path. So what we can do now is we can right-click on the text, we can go to the fitting menu, and we can choose Fit Frame to Content. What does that mean? It means we made the frame too large, but now that we've got our final text in, we can fit it to exactly the right size. Now, when we move it across, there we see our smart guide, and the text is exactly centered in the center squares. So that is the value of using fitting options when creating a frame that's either too large or too small for your content.